Without her parents knowing, Gloria, though single, had quite a reputation among her circle of friends. Many of her co-workers saw her as a bit of a player since she was often spotted with different guys. The city where Gloria worked was a popular tourist destination, attracting plenty of foreign visitors who stayed for a few days or weeks at a time. Gloria, being outgoing and charming, had a knack for connecting with these tourists. At the restaurant where she worked, she would often strike up conversations with foreign customers, which sometimes led to more intimate encounters, often lasting no more than a night. Hello and welcome to our channel. Today, we're diving into another chilling real-life story from around the world. This time, our journey takes us to Mando City in Cebu Province, Philippines. It's the story of a husband and wife who, despite being blessed with great wealth after marriage, struggled to find harmony in their relationship. The husband's inability to fulfill certain important needs left room for the wife to stray behind his back. What's the full story behind this unsettling case? Stay with us as we uncover the details and dive deeper into what really happened. Before we dive into the story, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this with your friends. It's a tale worth spreading around. So, here's how it goes. Once upon a time, there was a woman named Gloria, born in 1987. She originally hailed from Talamban but moved with her family to Mando City during her teenage years. Gloria's mom started trading vegetables and fruits at the traditional market in Mando, while her father, a retired police officer, spent most of his time at home due to his declining health. Gloria, the youngest of 4 siblings, still lives at home with her parents. Since 2014, Gloria has worked as a cashier and waitress at a small, 24-hour restaurant in the suburbs of Mando. Her shifts are grueling, running from 9 a.m. to 5 a.m. the next day. This job wasn't exactly what her mom had in mind for her. She worried constantly. Working late hours in a place with such a low salary wasn't ideal. The paycheck barely lasted until the end of the month. But Gloria didn't mind. She was used to it, and her friends always made sure she got home safely. Still, as moms do, Gloria's mother couldn't shake the worry of her daughter coming home at dawn, even after years of the same routine. That's why her parents asked Emilio, the son of an old family friend, to look after Gloria. Emilio, a 34-year-old school bus driver in Cebu City, was more than happy to take on the role. He had a crush on Gloria and didn't mind picking her up from work every day. Her parents thought Emilio was a great match for their daughter, who was already 30 and, in their opinion, ready to settle down. Gloria had never introduced a boyfriend to her family, so they assumed she was single and figured Emilio was the perfect candidate. But here's where things get interesting. Unbeknownst to her parents, Gloria wasn't as single as they thought. While she didn't have an official boyfriend, she had plenty of male friends who were close to her. In fact, her co-workers often joked that Gloria was a bit of a player. The city where Gloria worked was a hotspot for foreign tourists, many of whom frequented the restaurant. Gloria was quick to strike up conversations with these travelers, and more often than not, those chats led to something casual. Let's just say, a one-night connection. Gloria loved the freedom of her lifestyle. She wasn't interested in settling down or being tied to anyone, much to her parents' dismay. While her mom and dad were busy playing matchmaker with Emilio, Gloria was busy living life on her terms, embracing her independence and enjoying the moment, one day and one night at a time. When it came to the matchmaking plan, Gloria wasn't thrilled. She flat out rejected the idea of marrying Emilio. To her, he seemed too geeky, and she was far from ready to give up her single life. But her father, despite his frail health, kept pushing her to reconsider. Her mother, with her short temper, made things even harder to resist. Feeling cornered, Gloria eventually gave in. For 6 months, her parents bombarded her with endless questions and nudges about the marriage. Finally, Gloria relented, but she set one condition. She'd marry Emilio only if she could keep working at the restaurant after they tied the knot. Her parents and Emilio agreed, and the wedding took place in September 2017. Fast forward to married life, Gloria discovered something surprising. Emilio owned a big, beautiful house he'd inherited from his parents. It even had a swimming pool. Plus, he had significant savings. While his younger sister still lived there, Emilio was the sole heir to everything. Gloria couldn't believe it. She started to think maybe Emilio worked as a school bus driver just to pass the time because he didn't need the money. Her reluctance to marry him began to fade, replaced by excitement. She found herself smiling more and more. Just 2 months after the wedding, Gloria decided to quit her job and embrace the life of leisure as a stay-at-home wife. However, being the mistress of a large house wasn't as fulfilling as she had imagined. Gloria felt a strange emptiness in her marriage. Emilio, for all his stability and kindness, lacked the spark she craved. She quickly grew bored of his predictable demeanor. Having been used to a life full of excitement, challenges, and unforgettable experiences, Gloria now found herself stuck with a quiet and unremarkable husband. She confided in her mother, who encouraged her to be patient, reminding her that Emilio worked long hours as a driver and was probably just tired or stressed from dealing with daily traffic. But as the months passed, Gloria started doubting her mother's advice. It wasn't just fatigue. Something else was missing. She often found herself feeling dizzy and restless, staying out late at night more and more frequently. Meanwhile, her mother, noticing the cracks in their relationship, suggested that Emilio try therapy. Surprisingly, he agreed and began visiting a traditional healer to undergo herbal treatments aimed at improving his vitality and energy. And mid-March 2018, while accompanying her mom to the Mandos City traditional market, Gloria crossed paths with a man named Adnan. He worked as a parking attendant near an ATM. Adnan, originally from Bangladesh, had been living in the Philippines for 5 years. The two hit it off immediately. Their conversation flowed so naturally that Gloria found herself making more frequent trips to the market, not just to visit her mom, but to see Adnan too. She felt like he might be the cure for the restlessness she'd been feeling. When Adnan mentioned he was a widower, Gloria's interest grew even more. Wanting to connect on the same level, she told him she was a widow too. Before long, Gloria and Adnan were in regular contact, and it didn't take long for people to notice they were dating. Word spread quickly, eventually reaching Gloria's mom. Upset and protective, her mom forbade her from going to the market anymore. But as we all know, love finds a way. Gloria and Adnan simply started meeting elsewhere. 3 months into their relationship, the secret came crashing down. Emilio, Gloria's husband, found out through a friend who tipped him off. Furious, Emilio confronted Gloria and discovered private messages between her and Adnan. Devastated, he marched over to her parents' house to complain. That's when Gloria broke down and admitted she'd been unhappy in their marriage, feeling neglected and unsatisfied with how Emilio treated her. Despite being deeply hurt, Emilio couldn't bear the thought of losing Gloria. He was completely captivated by her, blinded by the charm that had won his heart. Instead of walking away, he begged her to stay. Emilio pleaded with Gloria to end her relationship with Adnan and never leave him. In a desperate act of love, he promised to put all his savings and even the house in Gloria's name, just to prove his devotion. Gloria, touched by Emilio's sincerity and overwhelmed by his unconditional love, apologized profusely. She promised to cut ties with Adnan and work on their marriage. Over the next few weeks, the couple slowly rebuilt their relationship. By the end of it, things between them seemed to return to normal, or at least as normal as they could be after everything that had happened. What Emilio didn't know was that Gloria hadn't cut ties with Adnan. She was still secretly calling him and arranging meetups. Adnan, by this point, had figured out that Gloria had lied about being a widow, but he didn't seem to care. Maybe he thought meeting someone as bold and aggressive as Gloria was a rare opportunity. Every time they met, Gloria would book a room for the two of them, keeping their connection alive. Then, in early July 2018, Gloria approached Adnan with an unusual request. She wanted his help finding someone who could be hired to commit a crime. She explained it as wanting to teach a lesson to a friend who hadn't repaid their debt. Adnan, though no saint himself, was smart enough to tread carefully. He recorded their conversation and agreed to help on one condition. He wouldn't be dragged into it or involved in any way. Gloria, eager to proceed, agreed to his terms. The next day, still in July, Adnan introduced Gloria to a man named Deepak, a 26-year-old from India. Adnan barely knew Deepak. He'd gotten his contact information from another parking attendant who mentioned that Deepak was desperate for money and willing to do almost anything for cash. Gloria and Deepak soon connected and began plotting something far worse than just teaching a lesson. The plan unfolded in mid-July 2018. It was around 10 p.m. when Gloria took her husband, Emilio, out for a stroll through the night market. They eventually stopped at the city park for some fresh air. As they stood there, Gloria excused herself, saying she needed to use the restroom. Moments later, a man in a black jacket and face mask approached Emilio, who was standing alone. It was Deepak. Without hesitation, he pulled out a gun and fired a single shot before fleeing the scene on a motorcycle with no license plate. Chaos erupted. Bystanders called the authorities, and Gloria reappeared moments later, crying hysterically, tears that were anything but genuine. Emilio, just 35 years old, died at the scene. The investigation following Emilio's death initially left the police empty-handed, unable to identify the perpetrator. But just 2 weeks later, Gloria, his wife, inherited his house, land, and a sizable amount of money. With her newfound wealth, Gloria contacted Adnan, proposing marriage and even offering to pay for all their wedding expenses. Adnan, skeptical of her sudden fortune, doubted she had enough for the kind of wedding she claimed to want. To prove her seriousness, Gloria transferred a large sum of money to him. Adnan laughed and said, "That's not even close to enough for a wedding." Determined, Gloria transferred even more money over the next 2 days, showing she wasn't bluffing. However, instead of moving forward with her plan, Adnan vanished. He stopped showing up at his usual parking spot in front of the ATM, leaving Gloria confused and frustrated. For an entire week, she searched for him, but he was nowhere to be found. Feeling cheated, Gloria started digging into Adnan's whereabouts. After asking around at the market, she managed to get his address. But when she arrived at his home, Adnan wasn't there. Instead, she was greeted by his wife and children. Gloria was shocked and furious. She stormed into the house, yelling at Adnan's wife and threatening to report him to the police for lying and defrauding her. True to her word, Gloria filed a police report the next day. By September 2018, Adnan was arrested. During questioning, he spilled the truth, revealing that Gloria had masterminded her husband Emilio's murder. Adnan confessed that Deepak, the man hired for the crime, had told him everything. With this information, the authorities began searching for Deepak, who had gone into hiding. It wasn't until mid-September 2019 that they finally tracked him down in Lapu-Lapu City, where he was staying at his girlfriend's parents' house. Once arrested, Deepak provided even more damning evidence against Gloria. The authorities soon found her hiding at her brother's house in a rural part of the Tamugpa region. Though she initially denied knowing Deepak, the young man had kept every message from their conversations. Confronted with irrefutable proof, Gloria was arrested, though she refused to confess. During the trial at the Mando City High Court, Deepak admitted to being paid 40 million rupiah to kill Emilio. Gloria had only paid him half, promising the rest after she married Adnan. However, her delays and vague timeline frustrated Deepak, who also needed the money for his own wedding. Feeling betrayed, Deepak shared everything with the court. Cornered, Gloria finally confessed, stating that her marriage had been deeply unhappy and that Emilio wasn't the man she had expected him to be. Yet, she didn't want a divorce. She wanted his inheritance. For Gloria, the only solution was to eliminate her husband. In January 2019, the court found Gloria guilty of premeditated murder, sentencing her to life in prison. Deepak, who had initially been handed the same sentence, had his reduced to 15 years. As for Adnan, while he maintained he had no involvement beyond introducing Deepak to Gloria, his role in the fraud involving Gloria's money landed him a 3-month prison sentence. What lessons can we learn from this story?